So you got your downstream injector. That's what everybody's talking about when they're talking about downstreaming. It works on a Venturi system. So when you use low pressure tips,
I'll come around.
meaning, you know, your normal tips, you got high pressure spraying, but then if you get small or larger tips, larger diameter orifice, it's going to be lower pressure. And the Venturi system, when it's low, it'll actually pull chemical through whatever you have attached here. Normally this will just go straight back to a tank, and it'll have your, whatever your house wash mix is. It could be pure bleach and soap, it could be 50-50 bleach, water, soap, whatever that mix is. And here I've got it going to 2 different ones. And I think you could actually do this with one ball valve. I just didn't have the stuff when I did this. So I've got it where one of these goes to a house wash mix and the other one goes to degreaser. So we'll go in and we do, you know, monthly and bi-weekly dumpster pads, things like that. So when you do them that often, you can downstream stuff on there, and it's quickest, easiest.
Do you like it that way that you can run both if you needed to, versus with a 3-way valve, you'd only be able to do one or the other?
Right. Yeah. So this one, I mean, you can open up both valves. Not necessarily going to be a true 50-50 blend.
Yeah.
But you'll get both products. So yeah, somewhere in there. Which with the soap that I've got in there, I've got EBC and Agent Blue. Actually, I mix them together because in the tank with the house wash, it's, you know, your yellow color. With the bleach, I want to be able to, or not the bleach, the degreaser, I want to be able to see it. So the EBC is clear, so I just like mixing the blue in, and they're both good, safe, you know, non-caustic, so you don't have to worry about that. But so the injector bypass kit, whenever you have an injector in line, you just have one going back to one tank. It's always going to lower your pressure. So let's say you're washing a house, you get done, and then you want to surface clean. If you leave your injector in line, you're going to be a few hundred PSI less. I'm not sure the exact number, maybe 300. But it's significant enough that if you're using a floater surface cleaner, say the 19-inch Whisper Wash, if you leave the injector in line, it may not float enough. It may, I've done it before. The skirt will probably drag just because you have that much less pressure. So using this is why it's called an injector bypass kit. So with it closed, it's going through here just like normal. You're using the injector. When it's on low pressure, it's drawing your chemical. Even if you put a high pressure tip in and sprayed, you still have less pressure because the orifice in the injector is so small, so it's restricting you. So this allows you to bypass the injector, so it allows all that extra pressure to come around, and it gives you your full pressure back. So
more flow too, right?
Yep, more flow, more pressure.
Be like around 10% on a 3,000 PSI.
What's that?
If you're dropping 300
PSI.
because of that, you could get up to a 10% increase in production.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit more flow, a little bit more pressure. You can even see if you don't have your jumper line on it, and you watch when you flip that, you'll go from just water's coming through it to water's shooting 20, 30 feet out.
Yeah.
Big difference with it. And it's nice to be able to just do that, keep your soap going, and then you can just take your shooter tip to hit that top bit. You're not having to worry about.
So if you're soft washing, you know, the way the shooter tips, you know, the four nozzle came about, people were doing 2 nozzles for soaping and 2 for rinsing, because you can have a high pressure on 2 of them, and when you have high pressure, that won't draw chemical anymore. So that's where some people wouldn't have to come back to the truck. They'd apply. You'd have a long range nozzle. You'd have a fan, so you can get the whole house soaping, and then you can go back and use high pressure to rinse. But that's not truly soft washing, because when you go back and rinse with that high pressure, it's over 1,000 PSI. So with this, and this is what I do, a lot of people do, we'll just use the soft washing tips. Soap, come back, turn on injector, open this up, and then rinse with full pressure through your soft wash tips. So you're still low pressure rinsing, but you actually get a little more flow, so you're able to rinse really well.
It's also a high PSI ball valve with a remote?
For
Like, so instead of having to walk back to the
oh,
truck.
for that,
Yeah.
There's other systems you can do, like a remote chem injector too.
yeah. There's
yeah.
there's a ton of different ways.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but yeah. This is the simplest.
The other nice
for-
thing with that is that if you are impatient about whether or not you've changed the PSI enough, like sometimes we would choke the ball valve and rinse with or soak with that. But if you go up and change that and it's open, you'll stop pulling soap right then, so you know for sure you're not just being impatient for 45 seconds. You're like, oh, it's not working right. I got to change something else, and you know you're getting soap or you're not getting soap.
Yep. And you can touch this, your downstream injector, you can put it anywhere from your pump all the way out to your reel. If you have a reel, it doesn't matter as long as it's in that line there. Some people will put it right off the pump. It really depends on the setup of your trailer. One, what's easy for you to get in and out of to reach it, and then also, your tank for downstreaming, you can run a downstream tube, 12 feet to the end of the trailer if you want to. You obviously want to try to keep it all tight.
Don't make it longer than you need to, but it's okay
Yeah.
if it's longer than initially. And occasionally it's a good idea to put either a new hose or trim that first 2 or 3 inches off of it, because it'll eventually loosen a bit.
Small hole for that. Quarter inch. Yep. All right, that's back in there. I'll just tell you what's going on here. So this machine, you hear about direct drive and you hear about belt drive. So direct drive, that's like your Home Depot machines. That's just the pump bolted directly to the engine. And those wear down faster and have a shorter life because they're running at such a higher RPM. When you do a belt version, that lowers it, and those pumps last a lot longer. So the belt drive pumps are definitely a way to go, as well as the gear drive. People sometimes get the gear drive and the direct drive confused. Gear drive, it has a gear reduction right here. So this is the pump, here's your gear reduction. It has your fluid here. Gear reduction works just like the belt drive. I'll go back to the direct drive. Those will not pull water from a tank. They have to be force-fed from a garden hose spigot. So that's where they're limited as well. Belt drive and the gear drive will pull from a water tank. So you can have the larger gallons per minute.
They'll create suction.
Yep, it creates suction. Yep, so it doesn't matter how full your tank is, it can have that much in it. As long as there's water to it, it'll pull it right out. So.
Is the advantage of the gear drive just that it's more compact?
So the gear drive are a smaller footprint, and obviously you don't have a belt to worry about.
It's easier to service.
Yeah, they're very easy.
So those are more expensive?
No, they're actually a couple $100 cheaper. That's why I have one, because it doesn't make sense to get a belt one anymore. These kind of got a bad rep a long time ago. What was going out and still on the cheaper models, there's a key stock there where that goes onto the shaft, and that key shaft was getting broke off over time just because of the pressure on it.
We bored a hole through one of our gears. Literally, the gearbox, literally solid circle through it. That's my employees not paying attention.
But Paul, Power Wash Store, he has a hardened key stock that he has specially made, hardened steel, and I've never heard of having to replace one. I've got like 6 of them back there that I've had since we opened. Never once had to replace any. I love mine, so we sell a ton of them because they've been just as reliable as belt drives. And then this is a 12-volt burner. So on hot water, you've got 12-volt burners and you've got 110, 120-volt burners. So the 12-volt burners run off a battery. That is what, they have a diesel tank as well, but the battery is for the igniter, for the spark, to light it, to heat it. With this setup, these larger pressure washers, all our water dragons have a larger charging system on them. So they actually will charge that battery well enough to keep up with the burner. So you literally, I mean, you're gonna have a battery with this because it's got an electric charge. So what a lot of people do, and what I kind of suggest to people, if they can't afford a hot water machine up front, but they know they're gonna need it, get a machine that has that larger charging system. So down the road, you can just add a $3,000 burner instead of having to sell your machine for nothing and then buy a $6,000 or $7,000, $8,000 hot water machine. So the 12-volt burners are nice because you can add on if you have one of these, you know, the larger machines.
Is there any benefit with the ones that are generator based though?
You know, there's a debate about that.
I've only had 12-volt styles, so
Yeah, there's always been a debate of, a long time ago, they used to always say that the 120 volt were more reliable, and at the time they were. 12 volts have come a long way.
120 is AC versus, so you gotta plug that in, right?
Right, so on those, you have a larger motor and you have a generator. And the generator is belt driven off the machine. You have the belt drive pump. And yes, so it's a 2,900 watt generator typically. Your heater will plug into that. One plus is you can plug it into a wall if you needed to. If your generator went out, which we've done in the past, you know, run an extension cord over to the property wherever you're at and plug it in, you got heat. As long as the burner itself is working. But 12 volts have come a long way. I wouldn't have one if they weren't reliable, because I'm like all about efficiency, obviously. I don't want any downtime. So you can get them in horizontal like this, you can get them vertical, whatever makes sense.
if you're doing parking garages, horizontal only, right?
Yep, low as possible. I'm 6'3", so I think this is probably right at 6'3". So, and these actually, a lot of times will come with a diesel tank underneath them. This one I had cut off from the manufacturer, Largo, and just for the height. Because I have the separate fuel tanks over there, one for gas, one for diesel. Any questions before we run the Downstreamer?
And is it the pump that dictates the drive, or is the drive just the linkage between the pump and
It's right, the gear,
Yeah, so in other words,
it's a gear reduction, so it allows it to spin at fewer RPMs. That's why it's like the belt drive.
Are you asking as far as what? Are you pairing an engine with a pump or a pump with an engine?
so can you exchange the drive for a specific pump, or do you have to get a new pump that's compatible with that drive?
You take that pump and put it on the
Yeah,
pump.
do they all, you purchase them separately, so that.
Well, the gear spins at 1450 or something, the belt drive is like 780.
Well, no, you're asking if he wanted to. Let's say he had a 5.5 gear drive. Could he replace that with an 8 gallon a minute pump using the same gear? And isn't that's a no,
Probably not, 'cause you
right?
have to increase your engine, because part of
No.
the drive for your engine is.
Yeah.
Forgetting about the engine though. But if you had the same, it's a different size gearbox for a 5.5 or an 8, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that what we're?
Is that what?
Well, I'm just saying, could you switch that gear drive to a belt drive, that pump?
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact answer. What would be required? Yes, yes, but I don't know. Obviously.
It'd be easier to go if you had a belt drive and wanted to convert it to gear. That would be very simple. If you're going from gear to belt, you're just adding a whole bunch of extra stuff to it. Versus, I just want to rotate my engine and
Yeah, why
throw
you
a
won't
gear
go
drive.
from a gear to a belt?
I'm not. I've got a direct.
Why you gotta
Why you gotta put all these ideas in? No, I'm just kidding.
I've got a direct drive, and I feed it to rabbit right now.
Yeah.
And I'm asking, what I was getting at is if I wanted to switch that pressure probe pump
Right.
from direct to gear to belt, could that be done? Qualified?
Yeah, that's a good
Do you
question.
have a,
It's probably not going to be
Right.
cost effective.
Right.
I can tell you
do
that.
you have a soft wash system installed this one?
Nope.
So how do you deliver the chemicals? So you
This one is,
That's the
this one is
Downstreamer.
just basically for parking garages. I mean, do house washes. You got the Downstreamer, but we don't have the proportioner. We don't have a soft wash 12-volt booster. No, and I had all that on another trailer. I pretty much make each of my rigs specific for what it does. I make that for that particular type of work as efficient as possible. So that's basically what's on it. So I had another trailer that was just for soft washing. I had a proportioner, 2 booster pumps, large water tank, large bleach tank for doing large buildings, So I didn't want to try to squeeze all that on a 20-foot trailer or something. That and this, you know. Although it can be done.
You mentioned something about getting it hot box ready, but 5.5 gallon wouldn't be strong enough for hot box either, right? You're
Yes.
thinking 8 GPN and higher.
No, the
5.5.
5.5, the 630, the Honda 630 motors. Yes, they'll have the upgraded. I'm not sure if all of ours do. So that's definitely a question to ask when you buy something. Yeah, that upgrade charger. Yeah, ours is we have the same gear drive, a 5.5 at 4,000 psi, and it does have the same upgraded charger. Yep. All right, we'll start it up and we'll do like you're saying with the ball valve, so you can see where